Hey guys, Dr. Baker here. Let's talk a little about seafood. So if some of you guys have been following me, I rarely eat seafood, although I do from time to time, but mostly I kind of just stick to steak. But should you include seafood in your diet, or do you have to include seafood in your diet to be healthy on a low-carb, meat-based, or carnivore diet? So let's talk about these things. What are the pros and cons of seafood? Let's talk about some of the pros. First of all, seafood can be a highly absorbable nutrition. It has a great deal of omega-3 fatty acids, which are crucial for brain function and immune function. Fish and shellfish contain a variety of hard-to-find vitamins and minerals like selenium, vitamin D, iodine, zinc, and all the B vitamins. Seafood contains anti-inflammatory proteins, especially collagen, which is useful for rebuilding organs and other muscle tissues. So let's talk about a few cons of seafood. First con is that a lot of the modern oceans are heavily contaminated. Some people are concerned with mercury contamination. Now, the nice thing is selenium can kind of help to counteract that to some degree. But when you eat these predatory fish that dine on the smaller fish, the mercury often gets bio-intensified or concentrated in the larger fish. A lot of farm fish are fed a relatively toxic diet, which can be problematic. For instance, farm salmon is injected with red dye to make its color the way it is in many cases, and so you're consuming that, which may be problematic for people that are sensitive to red dyes. Now let's talk about which seafood are maybe the best ones to include in the diet, and it depends a little bit, but certainly I think fatty fish like wild-caught salmon, anchovies, sardines, or herring are a good choice. Now if you're going to eat some leaner fish, you may want to increase the fat content by cooking it a little butter or perhaps olive oil if you're still including plant oils in there. Things like shrimp, lobster, scallops, mussels, clams, crab, cod, grouper, and oysters are all potentially good choices. High mercury containing farm fish, things like shark, swordfish, mackerel, Chilean sea bass, or any other farm fish are going to be perhaps a second tier choice for you. And then of course breaded, deep fried, and particularly in garbage oils, you want to avoid those types of things. So again, do you have to include seafood in your diet to be healthy? I don't believe you do. And seafood, if you want it, some people find it delicious. And I don't think there's a problem for including it there. It can certainly be a good way to change up the diet and provide variety. And some people like to, just have different types of meat on different days, and there's nothing wrong with that. Let's talk about omega-3s and supplementation versus getting it in the form of seafood itself. Well, our digestive tract is absorbed to break down animal-based proteins and fats and absorb them in their natural form. And so supplements obviously are not coming in the same package that it would in a natural animal. And so the absorption rates can be very, very different. It can be very, very higher, or it can be as low as maybe 2% of it actually being absorbed. So you may be wasting a lot of money. You don't know how the oils were prepared. Were they rancid? How pure are they? Remember, the FDA does not regulate supplements to the degree that it does drugs. So you never know what you're even getting there. Oxidized oils from the manufacturing process. The casing itself can all be potentially inflammatory. All right, so let's talk back about mercury again. There's just too much mercury to eat any fish, and that's clearly not the case either. Now again, I mentioned that selenium, the high selenium content in many fish actually can counteract some of the mercury issues, but there are certainly, if all things are being equal, it makes sense to perhaps choose fish that tend to have less exposure to mercury. So we talked about wild-caught salmon and some of these other things as perhaps better choices. Some people will say that seafood, let's look at these populations like the Japanese and certain other populations that consume a lot of fish, and they have good longevity, and perhaps seafood is the healthiest food in the world. And I disagree with that. And I think seafood is certainly a good option and can be a good option, but is it healthier than eating things like beef or lamb or things like that? Probably not. Probably not. I don't think the data fully supports that. So there you have it, some basic seafood 101. If you have any other questions on seafood, let me know in the comments. Are you a big seafood eater? Do you enjoy it? Do you include it in your diet? How much of your diet does it make up? For me, it's probably less than 1%, but when I have it, I enjoy it. All right, guys, this is Dr. Baker. I'll talk to you soon. See you later.